Finally, I want to say that today the prayers of the American people are with the family of a devoted and courageous journalist, Stephen Sotloff. Overnight, our government determined that, tragically, Stephen was taken from us in a horrific act of violence. We cannot even begin to imagine the agony that everyone who loved Stephen is feeling right now. Especially his mother, his father, and his younger sister. So today, our country grieves with them. Like Jim Foley before him, Steve's life stood in sharp contrast to those who have murdered him so brutally. They make the absurd claim that they kill in the name of religion. But it was Stephen, his friends say, who deeply loved the Islamic world. His killers try to claim that they defend the oppressed, but it was Stephen who traveled across the Middle East. Risking his life to tell the story of Muslim men and women demanding justice and dignity. Whatever these murderers think they'll achieve by killing innocent Americans like Stephen. They have already failed. They have failed because, like people around the world, Americans are repulsed by their barbarism. We will not be intimidated. Their horrific acts only unite us. As a country and Stephen are resolved to take the fight against these terrorists. And those who make the mistake of harming Americans will learn that we will not forget. And that our reach is long and that justice will be served. Mr. President. President Ilves, well, I thought we could open things up for some questions. I understand 2 from Estonian journalists and 2 from President Obama's entourage. As the host, I'll give the first opportunity to one of our tough questioners, Arn Ranami. Question: Yes, thank you. Arn Ranami, Estonian Public Broadcasting. I have the same question to both presidents. The partnership between Russia and NATO is not the same, as we all know. Why to keep actually it alive, the agreement signed in 1997 between Russia and NATO? Perhaps it would push or give some new opportunities to our region's security in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. President Ilves, well, from our side, first of all, NATO did decide to freeze its relations with Russia several months ago. But on the issue in terms of what are the implications of the NATO-Russia Founding Act? I suggest all those who say we can't do anything because of the NATO-Russia Founding Act read the NATO-Russia Founding Act. Which says that these conditions hold to quote in the current and foreseeable future. Or the security environment of the current and foreseeable future. That was the security environment of 1997, when Boris Yeltsin was president. And there had been no violations of either the UN Charter or the 1975 Helsinki Final Act, the 1990 Paris Charter. So I would argue this is an unforeseen and new security environment. And therefore one has to hold on to certain provisions. It does not mean we have to give up the whole act. But certainly when an agreement in certain parts no longer holds, well, then it's time to make a change. I mean, the NATO-Russia Founding Act has been violated by Russia. We continue to support the vision of that document, but its substance has changed dramatically. And I am confident that all of NATO's actions are and will be conducted in accordance with its international commitments as an alliance. President Obama, the circumstances clearly have changed. And I think this will be a topic of discussion in Wales. Beyond the issue of that particular document, our top priority has been to make sure that there is no ambiguity when it comes to our Article 5 commitments to our NATO allies. And as a consequence of the rotations that have been increased, the presence of U.S. troops in the course of those rotations and additional NATO allies. What we want to send a clear message to everyone is that we take those commitments seriously. And I think what's going to be clear during the course of the summit is that given the changed landscape, not only do we have to make sure that these rotations are effective and designed towards current threats, but more broadly, NATO has to look at its defense capabilities as a whole and make sure that they are updated and properly resourced. For I think a certain period of time there was a complacency here in Europe about the demands that were required to make sure that NATO was able to function effectively. My former Secretary of Defense, I think, came here and gave some fairly sharp speeches. Repeatedly about the need for making certain that every NATO member was doing its fair share. I think Secretary General Rasmussen, during the course of his tenure, continually emphasized the need for us to upgrade our joint capabilities. And obviously what's happened in Ukraine is tragic, but I do think it gives us an opportunity to look with fresh eyes and understand what it is that's necessary to make sure that our NATO commitments are met. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here in Estonia today. I'm going to call on Ann Compton. Ann is on her farewell tour. Question, thank you very much, Mr. President. Now that you say a second American has been slain, what is your response? Will airstrikes continue inside Iraq? Might they expand into Syria? Will you have a full strategy now on ISIS? Which will satisfy those like Prime Minister Cameron, who call it an imminent threat to all the interests. And will it satisfy some of your supporters like Senator Feinstein? Who fears that on this you may have been too cautious? Thank you. President Obama, well, keep in mind that from the outset, the moment that ISIS went into Mosul, we were very clear that this was a very serious threat not just to Iraq but to the region and to you. Interests. And so we've been putting forward a strategy. Since that time that was designed to do a number of things. Number 1, to make sure that Americans were protected in Iraq, in our embassies, in our consulates. Number 2, that we worked with Iraqis to create a functioning government that was inclusive, and that could serve as the basis for Iraq to begin to go on the offensive. And the airstrikes that we've conducted in support of protecting Americans conducting. Humanitarian missions and providing space for the Iraqi government to form have borne fruit. We've seen that in Sinjar Mountain. We've seen it most recently in the town of Amerli. Which heroically held out against a siege by ISIL. We're seeing progress in the formation of an inclusive Sunni Shia Kurd central government. And so what we've seen is the strategy that we've laid out moving effectively. But what I've said from the start is, that this is not going to be a 1 week or 1 month or 6 month proposition. Because of what's happened in the vacuum of Syria. As well as the battle-hardened elements of ISIS that grew out of Al-Qaeda in Iraq during the course of the Iraq War. It's going to take time for us to be able to roll them back. And it is going to take time for us to be able to form the regional coalition that's going to be required so that we can reach out to Sunni tribes in some of the areas that ISIS has occupied. And make sure that we have allies on the ground in combination with the airstrikes that we've already conducted. So the bottom line is this: our objective is clear, and that is to degrade and destroy ISIL. So that it's no longer a threat not just to Iraq but also the region and to the United States. In order for us to accomplish that, the first phase has been to make sure that we've got an Iraqi government. That's in place and that we are blunting the momentum that ISIL was carrying out. And the airstrikes have done that. but now what we need to do is make sure that we've got the regional strategy in place that can support an ongoing effort not just in the air but on the ground to move that forward. And last week when this question was asked, I was specifically referring to the possibility of the military strategy inside of Syria that might require congressional approval. It is very important from my perspective that when we send our pilots in to do a job, that we know that this is a mission that's going to work, that we're very clear on what our objectives are, what our targets are. We've made the case to Congress and we've made the case to the American people. And we've got allies behind us so that it's not just a one-off, but it's something that over time is going to be effective. And so the bottom line is this, and it's not only that we're going to be bringing to justice those who perpetrated this terrible crime against these two fine young men. More broadly, the United States will continue to lead a regional and international effort against the kind of barbaric and ultimately empty vision that ISIL represents. And that's going to take some time, but we're going to get it done. I'm very confident of it. Question: did you just say that the strategy is to destroy ISIS, or to simply contain them or push them back? President Obama, our objective is to make sure that ISIL is not an ongoing threat to the region. And we can accomplish that. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some effort. As we've seen with Al-Qaeda, there are always going to be remnants that can cause havoc of any of these networks. In part because of the nature of terrorist activities. You get a few individuals, and they may be able to carry out a terrorist act.